It's 2:30 in the morning here in Boise, Idaho. My name's Jason, I'm 44. And everything I thought I knew about my life just collapsed around me. My girlfriend Rachel, 41, who's been my partner for 5 years, fell back into drug use last week and ended up with some stranger. Then I discovered she's been seeing multiple guys behind my back for months. We've built a life together, shared house, our 2 dogs, and what I believed was a solid future. But now I'm devastated, feeling trapped and directionless. I always valued trust above everything. But now I don't even know what that word means anymore. I've never been good at confronting difficult situations. That's probably my biggest weakness. And that's likely why I'm facing this nightmare now. I'm nothing special, really. I work as a warehouse manager, putting in long shifts that leave my body aching. But it pays the bills. I enjoy simple pleasures, grilling burgers, cheering during football games, taking our rescue dogs, Cooper and Daisy, for walks along the Boise River. Rachel and I first connected at a rundown bar during karaoke night. She was completely butchering Bon Jovi's "Livin' on a Prayer," and I was instantly captivated. Her laughter could brighten any room. She was obsessed with true crime podcasts, and she'd always tease me for packing excessive snacks whenever we hiked. We created something meaningful together, spending Thanksgivings with her mother, Karen, and my brother, Thomas, discussing our dreams of someday owning a little cabin near McCall. Rachel had always been honest about her previous struggles with addiction, maintaining sobriety since before we met, and I genuinely admired her determination. Me, I'm terrified of difficult conversations. When something feels off, I typically smile and hope the problem resolves itself. That approach is definitely coming back to haunt me now. 5 years ago, I was completely shattered after a divorce. That left me convinced I'd never let anyone get close again. My father abandoned our family when I was only 10, which planted this deep fear of emotional abandonment. Rachel felt like a second chance at happiness. We'd spend evenings sitting on our porch sipping IPAs, planning adventures to Yellowstone or the Oregon coastline. One evening, we attempted her grandmother's cornbread recipe. Ended up covered in flour, laughing so hard we couldn't stand up. That was when I knew I was completely committed to her. We had big dreams together, maybe having a child, adopting another dog, renovating some charming older house. But I deliberately ignored concerning signs. Her increasingly late nights, sudden irritability over minor things, avoiding my questions. I wanted our relationship to be perfect so desperately that I pretended everything was fine. Last Tuesday, Rachel didn't return home after her shift at the coffee shop. Around 9:00 p.m., she texted, "Hanging with Amanda, might stay overnight." Amanda's a trusted coworker and friend, so I wasn't worried. But when Wednesday morning came and Rachel still hadn't returned, just sending another message, "Still at Amanda's, back soon," my instincts were screaming that something was wrong. Even so, I convinced myself I was overreacting and went to work. Walking through the door later, I found her there, looking terrible. Wrapped in a blanket, eyes bloodshot, the house smelling of stale takeout. She was nervously picking at her fingernails, avoiding eye contact. I sat beside her and gently said, "Honey, what's happening? You can tell me anything, no judgments." She muttered, "Just having a rough day, it's nothing." Then quickly turned on the television, her hands visibly shaking. By Friday, her behavior became increasingly erratic, lashing out about insignificant things. I sensed something significant was wrong, but kept hoping the problem would resolve itself. Friday evening, everything fell apart. I was taking out the garbage after an exhausting shift when I discovered a glass pipe hidden in a crumpled fast food bag. Rachel had previously shown me what drug paraphernalia looked like years ago, and this was undeniably drug-related. I marched inside, slammed the pipe down on our kitchen table, and demanded, "Rachel, does this belong to you?" She stared downward, wringing her hands nervously, then claimed, "No, Jason, that's not mine. Someone must have left it in my car." But her shaking hands and averted gaze told me she wasn't being truthful. I pressed her, saying, "Please, I need you to be honest with me." After what seemed like forever, she broke down in tears and confessed, "I used once at a party with Amanda last week. It was just a mistake." She promised to resume attending her recovery meetings, pleading with me to believe her. I embraced her, feeling her body trembling against mine. But my mind was racing with doubts. Why had she lied initially? What else might she be hiding? Sleep was impossible that night. I kept returning to all her recent odd behaviors. Arriving home at 4:00 a.m. a month earlier claiming it was work-related. Evading questions about mysterious new friends. Becoming increasingly secretive with her phone. I remembered our first Thanksgiving together, how nervous she was about meeting Thomas. And how Corinne's casserole was terrible. We had laughed so much that evening, clinking our beer bottles together outside. Now, those memories felt like they belonged to someone else's life. We barely survived the weekend grabbing coffee together, watching a football game. But it felt like living with a stranger. Sunday, I took Cooper and Daisy to the park alone. Watched them chase a frisbee while children played nearby. Rachel used to talk excitedly about us having a child someday. Standing there, I felt this profound emptiness, wondering how our relationship had deteriorated so significantly. Monday, I attempted another conversation with her. We were standing in the kitchen, and I asked if she'd contacted her sponsor yet. She shrugged dismissively, snapping, "I'll do it when I'm ready, Jason, stop nagging me." Her response hurt deeply, but I dropped the subject. My mind kept creating images of her at that party, wondering who she was with and what happened. Work passed in a blur, colleagues shouting about deliveries. While I continuously checked my phone, hoping for a message from Rachel that never arrived. Tuesday night, the situation deteriorated further. Rachel was in the backyard with the dogs while her phone on the counter kept buzzing. I know I shouldn't have, but I was desperate for answers. I grabbed her phone, unlocked it, we've always shared our passcodes, and checked her conversation with Amanda. One message hit me like a blow. "You really need to tell Jason about the other guys. He doesn't deserve what you're doing." Other guys. Scrolling through their conversation, I discovered references to hookups, dating back several months. There was nothing specific about the previous Tuesday, though. Something compelled me to check her browser history, and there it was. A Craigslist ad posted at 2:00 a.m. last Tuesday seeking a quick meetup, no strings attached. It was undeniably from her, contained the same distinctive spelling errors she always makes. I stumbled outside to the porch and collapsed onto the steps, staring blankly at the streetlights. 5 years of my life completely destroyed. I couldn't even look at Rachel that evening. We ate takeout silently while I sat there numb. I kept seeing that online ad, those text messages, the drug pipe. I felt like the world's biggest fool. All those Christmas celebrations with Corinne's terrible eggnog. Summer days floating down the Boise River, it all seemed like an elaborate deception. After she went to bed, I drove to the empty parking lot of the local supermarket and completely broke down. My father abandoned our family when I was a child, and I had sworn never to let anyone make me feel that way again. Yet here I was experiencing that exact same pain. I thought about Rachel teaching me to dance in our kitchen, Bruce Springsteen blasting from the speakers. Had any of those moments been genuine? Then I remembered that night her car got a flat tire on the interstate. Me driving an hour to reach her, her embracing me like I was her entire world. Was that just another performance? The practical implications feel even more overwhelming than the emotional betrayal. Our rental agreement includes both our names, with 6 months remaining on the lease. Cooper and Daisy adore Rachel. Daisy always sleeps on her side of the bed. And Rachel spent countless hours training Cooper to retrieve toys. If we separate, what happens to our pets, to our home? I kept wondering if things might have been different. Had I confronted Rachel when she first started acting strangely? Maybe I could have prevented this disaster. But this isn't my responsibility, right? I was simply too frightened to address the issues, paralyzed by fear of damaging what we had built together. Wednesday, I tried clearing my mind with a long walk along the river with the dogs. I kept thinking about our first date. How Rachel accidentally spilled her beer and laughed so hard she snorted. I had been incredibly anxious, but she made everything feel effortless. As if we'd known each other forever. Now she felt like a complete stranger. Rachel and I used to discuss having children. Maybe a little girl who would share our love for animals. That dream had now evaporated completely. That evening, I couldn't contain my feelings any longer. We were sitting in the living room, some cooking program playing on TV. I finally confronted her. Rachel, I saw the text messages, the online ad, the pipe. I need complete honesty from you, everything. My voice was unsteady, but I remained firm. She began sobbing, explaining through tears that she'd been using drugs again for 8 months, hiding it from me. The Tuesday hookup was a moment of weakness, and she admitted there had been several others. I was completely ashamed, she managed between sobs. I thought you would leave me if you knew. I sat rigidly, jaw clenched, wanting to scream but containing my anger. Her tears seemed genuinely heartfelt, which somehow made everything more painful. I wanted to hate her but kept remembering the Rachel who would leave sweet notes in my lunch container. I told her directly that I couldn't trust her anymore and needed space to think. She's temporarily staying with Amanda, while I'm keeping the dogs since my work schedule occasionally allows me to work remotely. Thursday, I called Karen, which was incredibly difficult. She was understanding but sounded exhausted. Apparently, she'd been through similar situations with Rachel years ago. Karen's helping Rachel find appropriate treatment, possibly an inpatient program. I suddenly realized that Rachel's struggle extends far beyond our relationship. It's a lifelong battle she's been waging. This revelation doesn't diminish my pain, but puts it in a broader perspective. I'm uncertain whether our relationship is permanently over. Part of me still deeply loves the Rachel who would bring me coffee in bed, who would dance goofily around our kitchen. But I can't unsee what I've discovered, can't unfeel this betrayal. I'm focusing on what remains within my control. Caring for our dogs, paying our bills, continuing to function. Last night, I attempted making her grandmother's cornbread recipe alone. The dogs sleeping nearby. It tasted bland without Rachel's presence. But I ate it anyway, staring at her empty chair. Writing this has helped me realize that trust isn't solely about the other person. It's also about trusting yourself to confront uncomfortable truths. I spent years avoiding conflicts, believing that would preserve our happiness. Clearly, that approach failed. I'm working on becoming stronger, even though it's incredibly painful. I keep thinking about this hike we took in the Sawtooth Mountains. Rachel pointing at a hawk soaring above us. Look at that freedom, she said, her face illuminated with joy. Perhaps true freedom means learning to let go, even when it shatters your heart. Thank you for reading my story. Sharing this feels like releasing a breath I've been holding for far too long.